Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for yet another conversation with. Today, we have awesome leaders from Lightbridge Academy and Pool Scouts who are going to be joining us. We're going to get into how they position their brands for the other side of this awful mess that we are dealing with, both from a health and from obviously a financial and business standpoint. Appreciate everybody who's been watching. Two housekeeping notes. One, if you haven't joined the Franchise Growth Mastermind, we're basically building out a community on Facebook that you guys can use as a tool to have conversations. And the conversations are real time, so that's been a great tool. And then secondly, if you have questions that you want to ask our panel, and you're going to hear some great positive stories and some challenges that are coming out of both sides. If you have questions, please use the comments that you should be finding, comment section on Facebook. If you post a comment in there, I can make sure that we facilitate them, because obviously we're designed to have conversation with people that you guys should be able to pull good information out of. So Brenda and Michael, thank you so much for giving us some time today. I look forward to hearing both of the stories of where the brands are today, and then how do we recover and get out of this mess, and what does the future look like. Just some opening statements. Brenda, I'm going to start with you with Lightbridge Academy. How are you guys navigating it from a business standpoint? How are you handling things personally? And then just from a franchise standpoint, how are you seeing things hopefully change or pivot as we move things forward?
Yeah, so thanks, Nick. As far as Lightbridge Academy goes, we have 2 of our 46 centers open. Most of them have closed down. Kind of the way they've constructed the essential worker and defined the essential worker has made it difficult to have enough density within our centers to actually stay open. That being said, we are very active in what we're doing to support our parents now and through supporting them through this. I live in New Jersey in Bergen County, which is the epicenter, sort of, at least New York, New Jersey. And I'm finding that how people are relating depends on what their situation is within their state. And so the context through which they view what's occurring and the actions that you are taking are different by region. So that certainly has been a challenge. And but I can see on the other side of this, or I can't see on the other side of it. I am envisioning what it looks like on the other side of this. And I really think that there's going to be tremendous opportunity for those that aren't out of business right now, for those that haven't been lulled to sleep believing that they're not in business right now, and for those that are actively engaging their consumer and looking to not be a transactional relationship, but be a value-added relationship. So I think on the other side of it, of this situation, those that successfully add value just on a human level are the ones that are going to still be standing.
Appreciate that. And Michael, same question to you, just general state of business, personal, and franchise.
Yeah, Brenda had some great points, and thank you everybody for having me on this. I'm excited to be a part of it. So we have 30 plus locations across the United States in 8 different states that are all 100% operational at this point, despite the challenges with the COVID virus across the country. We're deemed an essential service. Our business model is we provide service to residential swimming pools. We clean, maintain, open, repair, etc. To residential swimming pools. And so many folks are at home, and their pool is, in some cases, their safe haven. It's something for them and their families to do. Because of the nature of our work being outside of people's homes, we don't have the need to interact face-to-face with the customers. And so what have we done? We really have been focused on communication, both to our franchisees and to our customers ultimately, on what we're delivering from a service perspective. We provided new services, including sanitizing surfaces that we come in contact with or that are in and around the pool area. Chlorine, which is used to sanitize pools, even those that are salt pools that many people question about, is in fact, if it's at 3 parts per million, kills the virus. So it's not a conductor of the virus itself. So we've also really focused on the communication piece with our customers, through our franchisees, by talking about this notion of a 10-year relationship. And so, Brenda, you brought this up really around the human component of this, which is the relationship with the customer, understanding that many customers might be going through challenging times and that we need to be flexible with them. We need to listen, and we need to provide quality service to them. We have to protect our employees, of our franchisees across the system. So we want to make sure that we're constantly providing them the proper personal protective equipment and procedures, etc. We've brought a lot of new things in place and communicated those things through videos that we've produced, and really just a constant message to our franchisees and ultimately to their customers as well. So we're very fortunate to be in the position that we are, still operating, still growing, and still providing valuable service to our customers across the country. And then our team, really our job, like always, and this is no different than normal, but certainly a more important time, is to listen to our franchisees, provide them with quality information and support, and then just act accordingly. So that's where we are.
Charles, you're muted.
Sorry, there's a lot of noise. I appreciate the thanks, Nick. I think that helps a little. What I love about this conversation is that we're dealing with a business that is quote unquote essential services and one that isn't, right? And even though two different situations, you guys are focused on the same thing, which is value. And one of my thoughts, or we were discussing in our community discussions this morning, is sure, right now essential services matters, recession resistance matters, but ultimately on the other side of this, it's going to come down to a value-driven relationship with customers. And that's why, Brenda, two things I'd ask you guys to comment on. I'm blown away. I love your focus on, hey, we're not focused on transactional relationships. We're focused on value-added relationships, which I think is tremendous, and that's the winning formula. And Michael, after Brenda comments on that, I'm very curious to hear you use the phrase 10-year relationship, which to me sounds like it goes very deep into core beliefs by your organization. So, I mean, guys, if you could focus on that. Brenda, you discuss value-added relationships. That's like a big term, and not many brands understand that. So what's your focus there?
So let me just say that childcare is considered an essential service, okay. And we do have 2 centers that are open and serving. It's the way that it's been deemed that has made it difficult to get more than, say, 10 essential workers within a center. So it's very difficult to keep the center open for an extended period of time. That being said, all of our centers are ready, willing, and able to open at any time as long as they can get the business going. So, but that being said, Lightbridge Academy, we certainly are founded on a set of core values that's all around the family. We hire, fire, lead through those core values. And our philosophy is a circle of care philosophy. So it's kind of like that each and every philosophy. So our owners, our staff members, children, parents, community, each and every member of that circle is an important component when we're making any business decision. So we consider each one of those stakeholders when we're making any kind of decision. Lightbridge Academy is the solution for working parents. So we look at what we do, not just in providing childcare and education. We know that we're in the trust business and that we have to provide solutions for working parents. They're the ones that purchase the service. They're the ones that are the care, the children are in their care. And so we must serve their needs. So how do you serve their needs if your center isn't open? And that's really what we asked ourselves. How do we continue this relationship? How do we support them? And we've done everything from literally asking them, what do you need? Every single director has called every single parent that was enrolled in the center. And they were saying, wow, this was a big task. We thought it would just be a quick call, but people wanted to talk. People wanted to say, wow, like this was much harder than I thought, taking care of these two kids and trying to educate them and trying to work from home. And oh my gosh, like, can you help us out? So we've developed these Facebook Live program that we go live 3 times a day on our Facebook page with learning activities and programs. We've got people from India were connecting today and asking us questions from India. Parents that aren't in our circle of care, meaning enrolled families, they're all sharing it. They're all needing support for educating their children at home. We've sent out free, what we call Peak of the Weeks, which sort of are lesson plans and activity ideas to all the families. We're going to do webinars on, supporting your child's education from home. We've created a video tour for those parents that are in market, and maybe they're pregnant right now and they're trying to figure out, what am I going to do after this is over? I definitely have to get back to work. And they're a little panicked because you might not be open or touring your center. So we've been thinking about everyone within our circle and our franchisees. We've done all sorts of support for them. We do town hall meetings. We're briefing them after the release of information. We're connecting them with financial support. So each member of our circle of care, we look to how do we serve them? How do we support them? And tell us what you need, and we'll figure out how to get that to you.
Charles,
Oh, guys, I'm sorry. There's a lot of traffic. I apologize. Either that or I'm losing my mind. But what's interesting is during all our leadership conversations, a crisis exposes things. And what you've how you've explained your circle of care, referred to your stakeholders, even how clearly you defined your purpose as helping the solution for working parents, that doesn't happen overnight. And it's not an accident how successful Lightbridge is, and how, if I'm a franchisee or prospective franchisee, these are the brands and leadership teams I'm going to be looking for, no matter what the story is, right? I mean, if you're 100% open or 100% closed. So that's amazing. And then, Michael, in that vein, is there more behind the 10-year relationship than just saying 10-year relationship?
Yeah, it's interesting, Charles. One of the things when we do training with our franchisees, and most of our franchisees, when they first are talking to a customer, the lead might come in through the web, but this first conversation happens through the phone, and we always coach that it's the beginning of a 10-year relationship, and we really believe that we're providing valuable service to our customers. And provided that we do what we say we're going to do, we show up when we say we're going to, we provide them a quality service, we believe that relationship is a 10-year relationship or more. So why are they going to leave us? We haven't communicated effectively. We didn't deliver a quality service. They move. There's some extenuating circumstances, but for the most part, we have very predictable streams of revenue and customer relationships, and we know what our retention rates, and we have a lot of predictability around this. So this message around the 10-year relationship is not new, but what's new about it is just listening. And I always talk about understanding the why with the customer. And in our case, as the corporate entity, the why has to do with the franchisees. And it's really about listening to them, understanding what's going on in their lives, and understanding the why so that we can effectively help them with the what. Same thing's true with our customers. They might be calling us and saying, I need to cancel my service. And if we understand more, we might see, one of them has lost their job, and we can talk about the flexibility of the service, frequency or payment or those kinds of things. So I think if you have that true relationship with either the customer, in our case, the franchisee, where they're willing to share the why, you understand a lot more deeply what's going on, and you're able to retain that relationship over a much larger period of time. So to me, that's a very important message that we've been talking about with our franchisees across the board. But we have to walk the talk with our franchisees to make sure that they understand that we feel that way about them, because that's our job ultimately, is to support them.
Mm-hmm.
So both of your brands have tremendous values, clearly, and you're leaning on the values to help operate during this tough time. For both of them, how do you keep such a positive mindset when the truth is there's a lot of scary stuff, whether it's Virginia being on lockdown until June 10th, whether it's not knowing what is the other side of this? Is it to find a cure, which could be a year to a year and a half away, or is it that we just become comfortable with the idea that fewer people are getting exposed to the disease, or that antibodies are growing? There are so many complexities to the unknowns on this that I'm curious, how are you guys finding the drive internally that when the bad devil on that shoulder is like, this is bad, this is a nightmare, run, go curl up in a ball and don't address the world. When that one's screaming at you, how are you guys, both personally and as businesses, allowing the values to continue to drive and not getting too nervous by these unknowns?
I think the media has negativity covered. I don't think it needs any support from me. We're all in it together. I think that's the biggest thing. We're all in it together. There's no one that's not affected. There's no one that's not scared for their own family. And this is, it sounds so hokey when I say it. It sounds so hokey, but it really is the opportunity. It's an opportunity to lead. It's an opportunity to pour positivity into the situation. It's an opportunity to support those that might not be as strong. And it really is in those times of crises when you have to put it into low gear and you have to just drive through it cautiously, carefully, but focused on what's needed. What can I provide? Who can I help? Because it's not just about us. Yes, it's about our company, the longevity of our company, and the business must exist so we can serve all these people, so we can serve these franchisees. So of course you have to focus on that. But in focusing on the needs of each one of your stakeholders, you really are securing the long-term viability of your business. And for me, it's as much who I am naturally. It's why I got into this business, to make a difference. And it's why we chose to be leaders, is not just in the good times, but also in the bad times. So you don't get the option of tapping out. You don't get the option of saying this is just too hard, or to be like doom and gloom. You must figure out where the light is at the end of the tunnel and just keep walking toward it. That's just how I look at it.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Brenda. I have this little thing on my desk. Usually, I came into the office today to bring my stuff, but I had this little thing here I have next to it. It says, "See the glass half full, then fill it the rest of the way." That's normally on my desk, and it's not germane to where we are right now with what's going on in the world. But I also believe what Brenda was saying is it's so important for us to be positive stewards of our brands and our future as companies, and for us as part of a bigger entity. The franchisees are relying on us, and the franchisees are trusting us to help them, continue to build a better business in challenging times as well as good times. And so we certainly owe that to them. I think the other side of this is creating a culture by which both through our brand and through individual franchisees, you take the opportunity to celebrate successes. Sometimes it's a success where a customer gave you, a 10 out of 10 on a net promoter score survey, and you recognize that particular person who did that job, or you recognize that particular franchisee for having a great NPS, whatever it might be, or getting a new customer, or celebrating the fact that 17 new customers came into Pool Scouts yesterday. And so that's a big deal. And so you have to communicate that at the level of whatever the level is, your individual franchisee, the individual technician delivering the service, the brand story, etc. So finding reasons to celebrate and to be positive is certainly one of those things. And there are lots of things out there. I think one of the great things that happens in this type of situation is, and I think we've seen it across the country, you see these incredible examples of people giving back and making a difference and caring and delivering just stuff that's above and beyond the call of duty, or looking for ways to help others. And I think that's our job as stewards of our brands and of our companies, but most importantly, of the support that we give to our franchisees.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. The other thing I would add is, we're all just people. We're all just human. And whether you are going to clean someone's pool, or whether you are calling them on the phone to see how you're doing, it is the relationships that you form. You talked about the 5-year relationship. It's how you interact with people right now, which tells them whether or not you are just some big business, or if you really do care, if you really, if you can relate to them on a human level. And a service like, a pool could be a godsend right now, to know that there's a place to get a little exercise. And also, a place to kind of release some stress. So I think just acknowledging each other on a human level is so important.
Yeah, it's interesting. By the way, Brenda, a couple of minutes ago, your other, call to action, you had me ready to join whatever army you were starting. So I am in New Jersey, so it'll just take me about 30 minutes to get up. But like when you raise that army, I'll be in it. Yeah, I'll probably be the first one to die, but I'll do what you say. That's good. Guys, I don't know if this is because, as I take it in for our law firm, right? We had our quarterly traction meeting the other day. We ended it with our going over our core values. It's something I'd love to say we're so in tune with, but we sort of are. I always want to do better by our team. And Michael, even things like you said, like about celebrating success, I think sometimes, and we have a great team, and there's no hierarchy, but I'm like, sometimes, that's great advice to take those moments and celebrate that success. And the things that you and Brenda are reflecting on go so deep for me, right? Because you're talking about culture, you're talking about stakeholders. These are very significant things because you see they're at your core. I don't know if this question is going to make sense, but it'd be a great example. Could you guys describe, because I think, Michael, you used the word brand story, right? And I know Brenda has. For your franchisees and your potential future franchisees, what's been at the heart of your brand story? And now, as you guys lead through this challenge, what's the evolution of the brand story on the other side? Does that make any sense, by the way?
It does. It does. I was just putting something together. I saw something on a personal level. People were putting together time capsules and saying, because, I was in New York City on September 11th. I ended up getting trapped in New York City. And, I had written down some of the things in that night that I had spent in New York, listened to Apache helicopters overhead, seeing people walk up from downtown covered in soot and dust. And, that whole scene was surreal. This too is surreal. And I started to write down what it looked like. because I know that we won't remember this in the way that we're experiencing it now. And when I really did start to write it down, said I phrased it by before the storm, during the storm, and after the storm. So I'm planning that after the storm. What does that look like? What does the future look like? What does our relaunch look like? When you reopen your door, what does that look like? Here's your checklist. Here's your Facebook graphic. Here's your communication out to your parents. Here's what it all looks like. During the storm, what did it look like? What did we provide to people in communication? And what was occurring? I unfortunately can put the list together of how many people that I either know personally or work with that have lost people to COVID-19. So managing through that personal crises as well as business crises, what did that look like? And for our franchisees as well, what did we provide to them? And before the storm, I call that, all the crisis communication that we put out and all the advanced, all the preparation and procedural changes that we put in place, preparing for the onslaught of what we saw coming. That being said, I think it's important to capture the story of what's occurring. I think now we have a stronger relationship with our franchisees than we ever had. Not that we didn't have a good relationship before, but when we're doing a town hall call, they're showing up in droves. They want to hear what we have to say. They're asking us questions that they might have hidden before because they were afraid to look a little silly or whatever. They're texting, they're reaching out, and they're saying thank you. Thank you for not hiding, because we know you're going through it too. And thank you for just showing up and saying, hey, nothing new to report. How are you doing? And every single franchisee we have called and asked them, how are you doing? Is there anything we can do for you? What do you need? And that story that's going to come out of this, I don't know what that's going to be, but I know that I'm capturing it along the way of everything that we've done, of the result of that, the Facebook posts and the emails and the texts and everything that's coming in, and capturing all of that like a time capsule. And it's going to be a white paper. And we're going to be one of those companies that say, look how Lightbridge Academy handled this crisis, and look how it propelled them in the future because of how and who they were during the crisis.
Yeah, great points, Brenda. I think Charles, you brought up the brand story, and to me, when we talk about the brand story, I believe that I can tell the brand story, but I really believe that people want to listen to the brand story from the perspective of the franchisees who are living, eating, breathing, drinking this business every single day. And so back to some of the points that Brenda made, it's really demonstrating felt leadership, that we care about our franchisees and that we're supporting them during any sort of challenging situation. And when they're telling that story, ultimately to each other, and that's very gratifying to see the sharing of ideas and best practices and doubts and questions across our franchise system amongst franchisees. That's very gratifying. But when they're sharing those stories coming out of this during validation calls with prospective franchisees, where they talk about, we walk the talk as a brand, as a company, to support them. To me, that's really, really about, to Brenda's point, formulating and just making sure that the relationships are as solid with our franchisees now as they ever have been and will continue to build. And I think, helping our franchisees navigate these challenging waters at times and making sure they're coming through, the challenging situation really helps us tell the brand story at a whole nother level. And I think that it's a testament to everybody showing that you care. It's not just talking about it, but it's demonstrating. Brenda brought up, having phone calls and conversations and Sometimes it's just a little bit of it's a text to a franchisee, just recognizing something simple or just checking in, because so many of them are so busy right now, just navigating the challenges that they've got, not only with their business, but with what's potentially going on in their personal lives as well. And so sometimes it's discovering that to be able to understand their story that they have going on in their personal lives, and to make sure that, we're here for them ultimately. And then we're in this for the long term, not just for the short term. I go back to that 10-year relationship. Our franchise disclosure document, Charles, like most, is a 10-year relationship. So we always talk about this notion of 10 years. And I just think it's really, a great time to have a better relationship than we've ever had. I was talking with a friend yesterday and saying, we're doing stuff at home that we haven't done. We're sick of TV. We're playing games and, bonding as a family, and these little things where we're eating dinner together. And I've got, a sophomore in college and a 16-year-old boy that are just usually gone, right? But now we're actually sitting down. I think those personal relationships right now are paramount to people realizing what's important. And I think that goes back to our franchisees and demonstrating that we really care, that we're not just talking about it.
Yeah, because, a perfect point. When we talk about the brand story, it's not as much what we say about ourselves, but what others say about us, right? A brand exists within the consumer. It doesn't exist, our efforts to brand or branding efforts. In all truth, their perception of our brand is what the reality is. It is going to be what they say about us after this. It is going to be what our customer says about us after this. That is really going to matter.
Again, it's all true, and you guys are doing, in terms of what leadership should be doing, you're doing exactly that, but it's not an accident. You're talking about a circle of care. You guys are unless you reflect on this and becomes part of your core, right now you can't react the way you guys are reacting. In the morning, I'm in my conference room by myself. I'm reflecting, just trying to, using your phrase, Brenda, too, about a time capsule. I'm watching my own actions because I'm like, they're going to reflect on my team. And then I even had a conversation, my team, like, hey, we're doing all these calls, and sure, we're doing a ton of legal work and I'm having legal meetings and my attorneys and staff are doing it. And I'm like, am I spending the best use of time? Or, my goal is just to make sure our clients know there's communication, there's community, right? So, it's no mistake. You just can't turn this on. And when I hear both of you, Brenda and Michael, I think part of that brand story is how you honored the relationship with franchisees, who then are no longer just franchisees as an industry term, but they're stakeholders. And I think that's a reflection of that brand story, which I think is, it's tremendous, and you can't get there without having done everything else. And I agree, Brenda, there's, once you know that moral compass of what your brand's about and honoring those relationships, it becomes nothing but opportunity on the other side of this.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you, and I it's not something that you can just pull. I'm going to pull out some core values, or now's the time. I'm going to build that. If you didn't have it before, you're not going to be able to lean on it now. So it's funny, Nick, we're always, we work with Nick and, talking about core values and talking about how important they are in managing a business. They're never any more important than during a crisis. It defines how you operate. It defines the pathway forward, and it aligns people. It provides that alignment.
Yeah, a few comments. One is, and we're trying as a good partner to our clients to help develop the time capsule. I think, Brenda, some of the things you're saying, brands need to think about this. You need to be covering your story in real time. You need to be getting front and center with your franchisees who are saying, man, they had our back, because when things change back, we're going to forget how it was navigating these waters. We're going to remember that you guys were the captain of the ship through these choppy waters. We're not going to remember how all those choppy waters felt in real time. So we're trying to build a platform to encourage our clients to capture as many of those stories now. Because if you don't have that time capsule, there's a lot of not wasted good, because you're doing good in real time, but the memory is going to be short term. And I think this is a very important thing for the future. I also feel like, there's challenges in navigating core values. I will say, in full transparency, call this a vulnerable moment. One of my regrets as I reflect back on business, I have plenty of positives. I can look back and say, we've done good. We've done a good job of living by values and morals to our clients, and I think our clients have appreciated that. Those who have been our client for a long time understand that there is behind what we're trying to accomplish. Where I feel like I failed as a leader is I don't know that I ever held the core values as important to our team as I did myself. Meaning, over the course of the history of our business, there were people who came into our organization that didn't follow the core values of what I wanted to deliver to the client from a relationship standpoint. And ultimately, I'm the founder; I get to make those decisions. But I didn't operate through those core values. And so my hope is that the value that comes out of the discussion around core values, that brands start using that as the moral compass for whether they say yes to a franchisee or not. It's not going to be about just selling franchises. It's going to be about match. So then, long-winded statement, because you guys are saying such great stuff, and I wanted to say that. But to the point of being vulnerable, like brands, obviously we're trying to put a good face on for these, but there are some challenge spots. I mean, like we've had to navigate some layoffs. Ultimately, that creates scared or nervous feelings among other people in the organization. I'm going to do my best to say we're not, like, I don't know if there's going to be more layoffs or not. I mean, a lot of it depends on the headwinds that we hit. If it's June 10th, our business might not be the same. I want to do my best for you, but then on the other side, it's like, well, maybe we need to push reboot. Our guest yesterday talked about the alert that comes up in the corner of your computer that says it's time to do updates, and you keep on minimizing it. And then eventually your apps start crashing because you haven't put the updates in place, because us as human beings, we push off the reboot so long. But maybe I'm like, the reboot is necessary. So long-winded to say, is it okay to be vulnerable? And then how do you navigate change if you get to the point of saying, I love you as a human being, but for our company to get to the other side, we're going to have to make some decisions.
Yeah. So those are really pretty tough things that you brought up, Nick. First of all, core values doesn't mean that you're perfect. Following your core values doesn't mean that you're any more perfect or better than any other company. It just means you're more accountable to them. So we make mistakes every day, every moment, just like every other, human being out there. But we know that we're accountable for our mistakes. That's the best we can do. Rough stuff when you're talking about layoffs, right? But I look at it like the baby is the business. You have to take care of it. It's like being on the plane. You've got to put the mask on the mother. You got to save the mother, so the mother's there to fight another day for the baby, right? To take care of that baby. You have got to be able to take care of the business and keep the business viable so that you can bring those people back. And you have to also make sure that they're okay, that you've set them up for success, that you've given them some tools, whether that's FMLA, whether that's unemployment, whether that is through your foundation. If you find that maybe their family is struggling, you find a way to help them personally. Whatever it is, you find a way to help them. through it, but know that you want the business to be on the other side of this to be able to pull them back. And that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I agree very much. I think if you have this, going back to culture, I think you have this culture of candor. I had a recent conversation with an existing really solid performing franchisee who was very concerned about, cash flow and some of the challenges. And really we broke that conversation into a series of data-oriented conversations where we could look at real numbers rather than gut feeling. We have a core value of acting with purpose, and that's really about driving decisions based on numbers and based on real stuff, not based on a gut feeling. And so we really dove in with this particular franchisee, looked at cash flow, looked at a lot of different metrics there, and worked through the process. But I think that took the culture of that franchisee feeling comfortable enough to be vulnerable and share the information. Charles, you brought that up earlier where you said, we got to reflect and really have to listen effectively. That comes back to the culture of making sure that people feel comfortable being vulnerable with you, particularly your franchisees, and then also being direct and open with the franchisees on our business overall. So I think that culture of candor is tough, but if you have it from the beginning and people appreciate that, I think you're in a better situation. Nick, challenging situations, obviously, where you have, to focus on tough decisions, but people realize that you come at those tough decisions, from a human perspective, that you've traditionally had the candid relationships with them. You explain the why, that's the, back to the survival of the brand, as you brought up too, Brenda. I think that's, those are things that are unfortunate but necessary in every business. But I think if we listen, we understand that we're humans and we're driving that conversation as early as possible and as directly as possible. I think that's where we need to be.
I agree. If you weren't doing the right things before, it's hard to pivot to a good place. Everything that's being said, it's if you have those core values in place, if you're leading from those core values, you're going to make some missteps because you're human, but if you're able to be accountable, you're able to have candid conversations with people, and even, with franchisees to say, how are you doing? Are you struggling? Do you want us to walk through the, financials with you? Do you need help, modeling something? We're in the ditch with you, meaning that you're not alone, right? And we'll help pull you out. Let's figure it out together. And even franchisees, we went to every one of our vendors, our preferred vendors that we asked franchisees to use, and we asked them for different terms. We asked them what they could do to make a way for our franchisees during this difficult time. Every single one of them either deferred or lowered, or like they said, okay, I know you don't need these services right now, so we'll take it down a little bit. Every single one of our partners stood up in the same manner and provided value and helped support the franchisees. They saw what we did on their behalf, advocating on their behalf, and we even with our franchisees said, hey, listen, does this work for you? We didn't just say, hey, listen, we're paying you this amount, take it or leave it, right? Is this okay? Can you make it with this? Can we get, can we do this for a month or 2 months? And I think, getting in the ditch with them, so to speak, not that you're staying in the ditch, but getting in the ditch, so and pulling them out of it and pushing them out of it in some cases, is what they need, is that those candid conversations and support.
Right, real quick, I think that's so important that, we talk about, we have core vendors, which we consider what I would call partners. And so those relationships, partnership vendors that really are core to, supporting our brand, or brands in our case too. We always have to be good partners, because you never know when you're going to call on a partner for some challenging times. And just to your point too, Brenda, I think that also makes, you reflect back and look in the mirror. Have I been a good partner with this group for a long period of time? Am I doing what I'm supposed to? I'm paying my bills. I'm communicating effectively. I'm holding up my end of the bargain. And I think that's really important. And so I think we have to reflect on that. And to your point, Brenda, we've had so many of those conversations as well. But I think being a good partner on the other side gives you a lot more flexibility to know that you're navigating the challenging situation. You're joined, you're collaborating in this challenging process here. And I think that goes true with the employees as well, of our franchisees and within our core team. We gotta realize that, this is not an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday challenge we're dealing with at all. Our franchisees are gonna require calls at 10 o'clock on Sunday night to coach them down from some challenging situations or to help them with a particular situation. And it's all hands on deck, and we have to be committed to them as partners. So I really, I look and in so many cases we've been blessed with great partner vendors that we work with that they're in it together. And I think that's just fundamental back to survival and how you move forward. Having your appropriate partner vendors is a key component for franchise brands moving forward. And we're so fortunate to have great ones that we work with.
Yeah.
So we have a few questions that have come up. I want to just pop them on the screen. I'll read it out loud just so that you guys can hear it. Do you think that the franchisees who get through this and the owners who join the brand in the next year will be stronger from having gone through this crisis?
I think they'll probably manage differently. Will they be stronger from having gone through this? I think they're going to be wiser. I think they're going to probably have more in cash reserves, to be able to float through these difficult times. I think that they will manage their business differently. And it's my hope that they will value the franchise model even more. Had they been, a standalone pool business, or a mom and pop childcare center, many of those are not going to survive this. Many of those businesses are not going to survive this crisis. We're hearing it left and right. You see it in real estate, as real estate's coming forth with different businesses that are for sale or have closed their doors and aren't opening. You see it. There's going to be a change in the landscape. That being said, the franchise model is really a saving grace to many. The support that we offer, the consistency in how we can roll that support out. They have each other. The franchisees have each other. They're reaching out to each other for support. And they have the support of the brand. They have some leverage. And a brand is something that certainly has a lot of leverage in a time like this. And so I think that, as a franchise community, we're stronger just by design.
Yeah, to echo what Brenda said, I think, first of all, our franchisees are tighter now together, and we're tighter as a unit than we've ever been. And we'll come out of this even more tight because we're all navigating this together. For us on the Pool Scouts side of things too, and we've reflected on this as groups across the country, our employee base, one of our biggest challenges we've had for the past couple of years is finding people, technicians to go out and clean pools, and reliable people that, want to do that job. And some of our franchisees have been, very fortunate to find great people. But, for us, I think when you demonstrate that loyalty, that commitment to your employees, which people are going to be very grateful that they're gainfully employed and that they're working hard and, and able to earn, I think we'll come out of here with a stronger core across our whole system from an employee base. We're likely to bring in less franchisees into our system, at least in the short term now. But I think the ones that will come in will be strategic in their viewpoint. And I think that they're going to be part of a much stronger group core group of franchisees who are proud to be part of our system and proud to have navigated a very challenging situation. So those are the two things, the employees and just the grouping of the group, of the franchisees, that I think are going to make us that much more strong as a brand.
Another question that came in is, have you had any negative kickback from franchisees, any using the crisis to exit the business?
No, we haven't had anything like that.
Not any existing franchisees, someone who had committed to start their business at some point during the year is looking at a delay, understandably so. But that's really the only negative that we've had as a result of this. And I think that's probably not unique in a lot of franchise systems out there.
Yeah. And, one interesting point, people that are in the franchise sales pipeline, not consumers, but on the franchise sales pipeline, because you can't travel, we're doing different things with virtual meetings, but they want to wait and see how you're navigating through this. Yeah. They want to see what you're going to do to support people through a crisis. Like you were talking about the validation, how you're going to validate after this may be different than how you validated before, depending on how you support your franchisees. So when thinking about the franchise sales process, I would challenge you to think about how are you handling this situation with your franchisees, and that is going to dictate how your sales are going to recover after.
I totally agree. One thing we've noticed, and this is really our lead flow from a franchise development standpoint has been very strong. And Brenda, like you brought up, we're doing virtual meet the team days as opposed to the face-to-face meet the team day, which we traditionally do. And we'll have had 11 over the past 2 weeks. And so that's a very, very strong pipeline across our brands that we've seen. And so I think it's interesting. We've had this conversation. People are at their desktop more than they've ever been. Now, normally they're responding using this thing the whole time, right? But they're actually at their desktop in most cases, sitting home. And the other thing we talk about from a consumer standpoint is going out to the mailbox is a little bit exciting these days, right? We get their mail, and we do a lot of direct mail.
Sad.
Customer recruiting. It is sad. It is. But I can tell you that, 6:30 rolls, and I'm like, hey, nobody's gotten the mail. I'm going to run out and grab the mail.
Put your gloves on, go out, get your mail.
Just hope that there are no bills in there, right? But I do think those, the responsiveness to certain types of things is out there. And people who are sitting at home and particularly concerned about their industry, their job, et cetera, are exploring opportunities that are out there. And they're going to take time, and there's a lot of uncertainty. But we've certainly seen an uptick in the number of both organic and consultant leads come through our businesses, which I think is an indicator of things to come as there's a lot of transition going on in the future.
Yeah.
As we hit the final stretch here, we'd love to go through final thoughts. Charles, I'm going to start with you, just in case you have any wrap-up questions that you want to ask our panel or comments.
Yeah, it's interesting because as I listen, I'm just absorbing a lot here. And these are lessons, franchise or not. And it's, Brenda's theme of a time capsule. As I look back on this mini time capsule and many of the reasons why we're doing this, I can pinpoint and say this is why Lightbridge and Pool Scouts are going to dominate even more on the other side. Quite frankly, you guys have great products and services, but other people do. It just so happens it's the leadership and the team behind it. And, I won't be shocked in the future to see that growth. For me too, as I made notes, you got your brand, and in this circle are franchisee stakeholders, core values, customers, partner vendors, brand story, and all of these things are coming together, and no surprise that these are things that your teams live. So it's really interesting. Only other comments, the way Brenda's living room looks so neat. I'm convinced she has everyone tied up. That's one. If there's ever a standing army in Bergen County, New Jersey, I'm coming. I know Brenda will be leading it. I personally appreciate this because, I look for whatever little participation in this. I'm hopeful that this will be part of a franchise time capsule as we all go forward and look back on this. So I think it's all positive.
Yeah.
And Michael, final thoughts?
Well, I think, first of all, I want to thank you guys as thought leaders. And I think so many folks out there are looking for leadership and thought leadership. And I know so many of us are spending time learning. And sometimes that dynamic is that we're learning something new from yesterday. And the rules change from Thursday to Friday on the CARES program or the PPP program or whatever. We're trying to navigate so quickly. But I appreciate you guys being the thought leaders in this particular case and being able to share stories across the board. For me and for Pool Scouts and Buzz franchise brands, our story is best told by our franchisees. And I just think that community of franchisees is the core of who we are as a company and as brands overall. We're fortunate to be able to share those stories across the three brands and just have some amazing people involved. The one thing I often talk about is when someone becomes a franchisee of one of our brands, they quit their job, they take their life savings or borrow against their life savings, and they push it across the table to us and they say, help me build a better life. Help me build a better work-life balance. Sometimes that takes a few years to get that work-life balance, etc. But it's so personal. And to me, I think that's the one thing we have to take out of this is to realize how personal these relationships are and how much people are depending on us to provide them with the optimism, with the path forward, with the solutions to the challenges of their problems. And it really comes down to listening. And I think that's the fundamental message is that we all have to be better listeners in this case, whether it's with our family members or with our franchisees or with our employees or with whatever it might be. People have a story they want to tell you, and there's a reason of why they're feeling the way they do. And I think the more we understand that, the better people that we're going to be, and certainly the better support people that we're going to be too.
Yeah, I'm going to bounce off of what you just said. We're talking about listening. When we're trying to figure out the way forward, when we're trying to figure out how we should be pivoting, when we're trying to figure out what the future is going to look like, I think the key is to listen and ask and to seek to understand how you can provide solutions and how you can help people through this. As it relates to your business, whether it's pools or childcare or education, whatever it is, what do they need now? What can we do to serve you? Whether it's your franchisees, whether it's your consumers. And the other thing that I would say, knowing the profile of most people in franchising, it is that we work our butts off. We really do. We work our butts off. And you'll never have this amount of time with your family. That's the good news. The bad news is you'll never have this amount of time with your family. No, but truly, take some time. Don't spend all of your time just, focused on this. Spend some time being a mom, a sister, a brother, a husband, a wife, and really remember, we're human beings, not human doings. And so in this moment, being in this moment and really asking people, what can I do to serve you? What can I do to support you? Is going to define the way forward. And so, I'm pretty confident that we're going to make it through, and certainly we're going to be the last man standing if that's what it comes down to. It takes that kind of tenacity, and it takes that desire that I think people in the franchise industry just innately have, that passion, that entrepreneurial spirit. So as a franchisor, a former franchisee, I just encourage everyone, that's in franchising. We're in the right industry. and we have each other, and we have what it takes to get through it.
Love that. Thank you, obviously, for all of the insights, all the passion you guys have given. My final comments are three terms that I think are important. Time capsule of capturing this moment. Brands, you have this ammo later on. You're doing a lot of good. Make sure you're capturing that and storytelling today that is available. Two is pivots, and pivot should be happening not just when things are going bad, but even to make things better. I think about pivoting on relationships. When I created this company, our company, I did so with a mentality that the hug was better than a handshake. It might be an elbow bump is better than both of those right now, but there was reason to that, and over time, there's been plenty of beatdowns. I would be lying if I said I haven't been beat down by former employees not enjoying their time or the industry that they picked, by former clients that just were not aligned from a match standpoint. But the beatdowns have been challenging. They may be very reflective every day. But some of those have prepared me for what we're navigating today. And some of my story helps me get through some of these challenges. And the last thing I'll say is I'm doing my best. This is the best that I know how to do. I did my best when I started the business and had nobody around me, nobody to have discussions with. I would be sitting in a room, and I was still doing my best. So I feel confident in that because I have nothing to rely on how to navigate this thing. I don't know whether I should do layoffs. Should I stay cash flow heavy? How do I get through the next billing cycle? All of this is unknown. But I feel okay knowing that I am doing my best, and I think that's true in everybody that's been on this discussion. So I appreciate you guys tremendously. We got to spend some time talking about some of the challenges and the solutions, and I wish all of you the very best as we continue to navigate this craziness, and look forward to the hug on the other side of this. It will come. We just don't know when. So thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you
very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Stay safe.